I was 9 years old the first time I wore a dress that had once been a pair of my father's work trousers. My mother had taken those trousers apart at every seam. She laid the panels flat on the kitchen table, cut around a paper pattern she had made herself, and sewed me a dress in an afternoon. It fit perfectly. It had small brass buttons she had saved from a coat that had worn through at the elbows 2 winters before. I wore that dress to church. I wore it to school. I wore it until I outgrew it, and when I outgrew it, the fabric that was still good went into the quilt that is sitting on my bed right now. That is not a story about poverty. That is a story about not wasting something that still has use left in it. Today, people throw away clothes by the bag. A shirt with a small hole, pants with a worn knee, a sweater with a pulled thread. These things go in a garbage bag and end up in a landfill. And the same week they go out, people drive to a store and spend $60, $80, $100 replacing what they threw away. My mother would not have been able to comprehend that, not because she was frugal, because she understood what cloth is worth. You cannot grow it in a garden. You cannot make it from nothing. You pay for it, and when you pay for it, it deserves to be used until there is nothing left to use. During the Depression, new clothing was almost impossible for most families. A man's work shirt cost 30 or 40 cents when many families were living on $1 or $2 a week. A yard of new cotton fabric ran 15 cents, which sounds cheap until you understand that everything else came before it: food, kerosene, whatever the landlord was owed. What families had was what they already owned, and those families became extraordinarily skilled at making what they owned last. The federal government understood how severe this was. Extension agents from land-grant universities traveled rural areas teaching women how to cut down adult clothing into children's sizes, how to darn socks so they would last another year, how to braid rugs from strips of worn-out fabric. These were not crafts. They were survival skills, and they were taught as such. My mother did not need the extension agents. Her mother had taught her everything before the Depression arrived. When the hard years came, she was already ready. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Edna Mae. I was born in 1928 and I grew up during the Great Depression. Hit that subscribe button right now so you do not miss the next video. Today I am going to give you 7 things my family did with old and worn out clothing that kept us from spending money we did not have. Every one of these can still be done today. The materials cost almost nothing, the skills are not difficult, and the money you save is real. Let us go through them. Number 1, darning and patching. This is the one that saves the most money and the one that has almost completely disappeared. My mother darned every sock in this house. When a sock developed a hole at the heel, at the toe, wherever, she did not throw it away. She stretched it over a wooden darning mushroom, threaded a large needle with matching wool or cotton thread, and worked a grid of threads back and forth across the hole. Then she wove perpendicular threads through that grid, over and under, until the hole was filled with new fabric she had made herself. A properly darned sock is nearly as strong as the original at the mend point. It does not look like new, but it does not need to look like new. It needs to keep your foot warm and dry. She kept a darning mushroom in her sewing basket at all times. Every Sunday evening she went through the week's socks and mended what needed mending before it got worse. A small hole takes 5 minutes. A large hole takes 20. Waiting until the large hole becomes a blowout means the sock is past saving. Patching was the same discipline applied to flat fabric. A worn knee in a pair of trousers got a patch cut from matching fabric and sewn on by hand or by machine. The inside patch was hidden. The outside patch was visible, and she made it neat. A darning mushroom costs $2 today. A skein of darning wool costs $3 and lasts for years. A pair of good wool socks costs $18 to $25. My mother got 3 to 4 extra years out of a pair of socks with $2 worth of thread and 30 minutes over a winter. My rule has always been this: a small hole addressed today costs 5 minutes. The same hole ignored for a month costs you a new pair of socks. Number 2, cutting adult clothing down into children's clothing. This is exactly what my mother did with my father's trousers. The principle is simple. A worn adult garment has fabric that is still good. It has not all worn out, only the high stress points have. The elbows wear through first on a jacket, but the back panels are fine. The seat of trousers wears out, but the legs are intact. The collar of a shirt frays, but the body of the shirt is solid. My mother took those intact sections and cut children's clothing from them. She had a collection of paper patterns, some bought for a few cents, some she had made herself by tracing around garments that fit. When a garment came to the end of its adult life, she took it apart at every seam, a seam ripper or a careful blade along the stitching, and laid the panels flat. Then she laid her patterns on top and cut. From my father's trousers, she could get a dress and a pair of short pants for my younger brother. From one of his old shirts, she could get a small shirt for a boy or a blouse for a girl. From a woman's dress that had worn at the hem and cuffs, she cut a dress for me and a skirt for my sister. She washed everything before cutting it. Old fabric is weakened at the seams and needs to be pressed before cutting so it lies flat. She used sharp scissors and cut in one pass, multiple passes with dull scissors, shred the edge and make the seam harder to sew. A children's dress at a store today costs $15 to $25. A pair of children's trousers cost $20 to $30. My mother made both from a garment that was going to be rags anyway. My rule has always been this: before you cut something into rags, lay it flat and look at what is still good. If there is enough intact fabric to cover a child's back, there is a garment still in it. Number 3, making quilts from fabric scraps. Nothing in a Depression household went into the rag bin faster than it had to, and the quilt pile came before the rag bin. Quilts in our house were not decorative. They were functional, and they were made entirely from fabric that had already served at least one other purpose: worn-out dresses, old shirts with blown-out collars, curtains that had faded past use. Every piece of fabric, when it came to its end, was assessed. What is still intact? What can I cut around? My mother cut quilt squares from the good parts. She kept a cardboard template, 4 inches, 6 inches, whatever she was working with, and traced and cut. Every scrap that could not be squared up went into the stuffing. Old wool that was too far gone to cut into squares was pulled apart and used as batting between the quilt top and the quilt back. She pieced tops in the evenings. She did not follow a strict pattern. She worked with what she had. If she had 6 blue squares and 4 brown ones, she laid them out until they looked right and sewed them together. The result was not uniform. It was ours. A twin quilt today, a basic one, not a handmade one, costs $40 to $80 at a department store. A handmade quilt from good fabric costs $200 or more. My mother's quilts cost nothing but time, and the one on my bed has been there for 40 years. My rule has always been this: a quilt is not something you make, it is something you accumulate. Every scrap of good fabric you save is one square closer to something that will keep your family warm. Before I go on, what did your grandmother do with old clothing? Did she mend, patch, quilt, or make something entirely different? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you are not subscribed yet, now is the time. New video every single week. Number 4, braiding rugs from worn fabric. This one surprises people the most because the result looks like something you would buy in a store. When a garment was past patching and past quilting, when the fabric was genuinely worn through in too many places to use as a flat panel, my mother cut it into strips, long strips about 1 inch wide, cut in a spiral around and around the fabric until she ran out of cloth. She joined strips end to end with a small diagonal seam so the join would lie flat in the braid. She kept a basket of joined strips in the corner of the sitting room and braided while she listened to the radio in the evenings. When she had enough braid, she coiled it flat and sewed the coils together with a heavy upholstery needle and strong thread, stitching through the sides of adjacent coils to lock them in place. The result was a braided rug, dense, durable, and warm underfoot. She made them for every room. The kitchen rug lasted 12 years before it wore enough to need replacing, and when it did, she cut it apart, used the still intact sections as braiding material again, and made a smaller rug from what remained. A braided rug at a home goods store today costs $30 for a small one and $80 to $150 for anything worth having. My mother made them from material that was otherwise going in the fire. My rule has always been this: fabric that is past every other use still has one more use left. Strip it, braid it, and put it on your floor. Number 5, using old fabric as cleaning cloths. This is the simplest one on this list, and it is the one I still do today without exception. When a garment was past everything, past mending, past cutting down, past quilting, past braiding, it became cleaning cloths. My mother cut it into squares and rectangles, hemmed the edges if she had time, left them raw if she did not, and put them in the rag bin under the sink. Those rags cleaned the stove, wiped down the table, scrubbed the floors, polished windows, and wrapped around a broom handle for dusting high corners. When they were dirty, they were washed. When they were worn beyond washing, they went out. We did not buy paper towels. We did not buy cleaning cloths. We did not buy sponges that needed replacing every few weeks. We used what we had until it was fully and completely gone. A roll of paper towels today costs $2 to $3 and lasts a household perhaps 2 weeks. That is $50 to $75 a year on something that gets used once and thrown away. My mother spent nothing at all. My rule has always been this: before anything made of fabric leaves this house in a garbage bag, I ask what it can still clean. The answer is almost always something. Number 6, saving every button, zipper, and fastener. Before any garment was cut apart or put in the rag bin, every button came off first. My mother kept a large glass jar, a pickle jar that had been cleaned and saved, full of buttons, every size, every color, every material. Bone buttons from old winter coats, brass buttons from military-style jackets, small pearl buttons from blouses, flat brown buttons from work shirts. When she needed a button to replace one that had cracked, to complete a set on a new garment, to fasten a child's coat, she went to the jar. She almost never needed to buy buttons. She saved zippers the same way. Unpicking a zipper takes 10 minutes and a seam ripper. The zipper goes in a small box. When the next garment needs one, it is there. She saved hooks and eyes, snaps, belt buckles, and elastic waistbands that still had stretch left. A card of buttons at a fabric store today costs $3 to $6. A new zipper costs $2 to $4. These are small amounts individually, but a well-maintained button jar means you never need to buy either. My mother's button jar was passed to my aunt when she died, and my aunt used it for 30 more years. My rule has always been this: a button is worth more than what holds a shirt closed. Save every one. The jar fills up fast and pays for itself the first time you reach into it. Number 7, dyeing faded clothing to bring it back. This is the one my mother used on garments that still had life left in them but had faded to the point where they looked worn out even when they were not. Cotton and wool take dye well. Faded black clothes can come back to black. Faded navy comes back to navy. Colors that have gone dull can be over-dyed with a darker shade and come out looking entirely different. My mother used natural dyes when she had them. Black walnut hulls boiled down give a deep brown that is extremely color fast. Onion skins give a rich golden yellow. These were free if you had the materials, and we usually had the materials. For a more reliable result, she used commercial fabric dye when she could get it. A packet cost a few cents and dyed an entire garment. The process is not complicated. Wash the garment first. Dye does not take over dirt. Heat water in the largest pot you own that you do not mind staining. Dissolve the dye according to the instructions. Add the damp garment and stir constantly for the first 15 minutes to prevent streaking. Let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes, stirring occasionally. Rinse in progressively cooler water until the water runs clear. Wash it separately the first few times. A faded navy shirt that looked ready for the rag bin comes out looking like it was purchased last month. A garment that would have been replaced at $30 or $40 can last another 2 or 3 years for the cost of $2 in an afternoon. My rule has always been this: before you decide a garment is done, ask whether the problem is the fabric or the color. If it is only the color, $2 in an hour of your time can fix it. 7 things. Number 1, darn and patch before you replace. A hole is not the end of a garment, it is a 5-minute job. Number 2, cut adult clothing down into children's sizes. The legs of trousers that wore through at the seat can still dress a child. Number 3, save fabric scraps for quilts. Every good piece of cloth that gets cut around becomes a future square on a future bed. Number 4, braid rugs from strips of worn fabric. What cannot be worn can still be walked on. Number 5, cut everything past other use into cleaning cloths. Never buy a paper towel when you have old fabric in the house. Number 6, save every button, zipper, and fastener before anything is cut apart. Fill a jar and never buy a button again. Number 7, dye faded clothing darker before you replace it. $2 of dye can give a garment 2 more years of life. Number 2, me Dawn Sidden 7 Siving Wen, not because she enjoyed it, because she understood that the money her family had was finite and that every dollar spent replacing something that could have been repaired was a dollar that was not going toward food or heat or something her children actually needed. These are not old-fashioned skills. They are practical skills. The clothes have not changed. The fabric has not changed. The principle has not changed. If your clothing budget is tight, if you are tired of spending money on things that wear out faster than they should, look at this list. Every item on it costs almost nothing to do, and every one of them saves real money. Share this video with someone who is trying to make things go further right now. It costs you nothing, and it might change the way they look at the worn-out shirt they were about to throw away. Subscribe if you have not already. One new video every week. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and remember, your grandmother knew more than you think.